not seen this movie before? Okay, I will. Oh my goodness, there's a lot of people that haven't seen this movie. Can I ask you, what did you think of this movie? Anyone? Anyone want to answer this question?
It's horrible.
Yeah. Do you find it to be life-changing? Are you shocked by what you saw?
I read Andrew Wakefield's book and I knew about the studies and been researching for a long time, so I'm not surprised one bit.
Yeah.
But it's just so shocking.
Yeah, it is. And I feel, guys, this is our tool right here. This is something that we can go and see other people and say, look, I need you to have a look at this movie. It's not about whether vaccines are good or bad, it's just about the corruption. And I know for my own personal experience that I've been showing my family members that didn't know anything about this, they were shocked. You know, they said, I can't believe this. You know, my brother-in-law, he went away and he went on the computer straight away after we watched, and he said, I can't believe this. I can't believe they get away with this. So I need every single person here to tell one person. If you tell one person, there will be a ripple effect. When I was over in the US just recently, that's what I saw. I saw people with such courage, and they were brave. They would just go up to someone, or even someone that they knew and that they knew needed to hear this information, and they would just talk about it. You know, if there's any politicians that you guys want to go see and you want them to have a link to see this movie, we can provide it. All you need to do is contact me at the ABN, and I will give you the link to give to any politician that you need to see, because we need them to know. Because when we've been in Canberra, they haven't got a clue. They have not got a clue. So this is really, really important. Okay, like I said, I'm really stoked. I'm just so happy to look in this room and see all these faces. See all these faces looking for the truth, and I'm glad to be part of it. I feel humbled to be part of this community. So thank you so much. We're going to have a oh, sorry, there's a question. Yes?
Thank you. This is a stunning movie, but I think my name is Dr. Charles Blake. I'm a doctor of physical science. I've been in environmental engineering for 27 years. If you're shocked by this, you should be. But let me assure you that this is not the only area where humanity is under attack. It is everywhere. It's in your food, it's in your water, it's in the very governance that was stolen from us in 1972. It's in the banking system that was stolen from us in 1923, when the same parasites that control this criminal organisation that calls itself the United States government, which is actually owned by another entity. It's time to open our eyes to all of these things. The chemtrails, the fluoride, the genetic engineering, the fact that our voices mean nothing in government, in parliament. We're set aside because corporation is the instrument of literally nothing less than Satan here. That's what we're up against. I just felt I could not sit here and not take the opportunity to share. I've spent since 1973 looking at these situations. I was kicked out of Laos at the age of 21 by the CIA because we saw what they were doing. They pulled $700 million out of the Golden Triangle area and sent those drugs through body bags into the United States, through political means, getting it into Europe, all for their dark purposes. They're now in Afghanistan, they have been for a long time in South America. They're all a part of the same instrument of our demise. And the only thing that stands between them and total victory, what they call full spectrum dominance, is our awareness and our communities. Community is the single most powerful thing that we have. And I've spent the last 27 years on putting infrastructure together that enables community to be autonomous for its fuel, autonomous for its energy, autonomous for its water, autonomous for its food, autonomous for its communication, transportation, and above all else, education. Education, which is currently controlled by the state and vigorously, or the churches. We've given away the most serious privilege that we have, which is to give education to our children. So I'm going to stop at that, but I beseech you, please look hard into this whole situation. We've been hijacked.
Okay, before I introduce our wonderful Vaxxed team, who I can see Del's going to be here soon, and Dr. Hooker's here, I'd like to introduce my Australian guests today to cover the Australian questions that we have as well. We've got Greg Beattie. Greg, can you come up here, please? Greg is the author of Vaccination, A Parent's Dilemma, and Fooling Ourselves on the Fundamental Value of Vaccines. If you just sit on the stage or something like that. He's a long time We've also got Dean Spanner here. He's a lawyer, a medical injury specialist. He's been in it for years, so you need to know anything in regards to this area. This man is your man here right now. You just Brett Smith, I know you're hiding in the back there. Can you please make your way to the stage? Brett Smith. Woo, Brett Smith. My favourite troll slayer. Come on, now Brett Smith is a naturopath and he's also very, very knowledgeable on the subject. He's gone to Canberra with us to fight for our rights as well. Okay, on to... Sorry, I want to get this right. Okay, I'll start with Dr. Brian Hooker. Dr. Hooker is a chemical engineer and associate professor at Simpson University in California. He earned his Bachelor of Science at California State Polytechnic University and his PhD at Washington State University. Dr. Hooker is the father of a vaccine-injured adult son with autism, and his ongoing efforts to fact-check that CDC led to the whistleblower, Dr. William Thompson, reaching out to Dr. Hooker to share this story. Without Dr. Hooker, there would be no CDC whistleblowers. So thank you so much, Dr. Hooker, for being here. Also, we have Del Bigtree. Del Bigtree was an Emmy Award-winning producer on the daytime talk show The Doctors for 6 years, with a background as a filmmaker and an investigative medical journalist. Del never shied away from a controversial story. Boy, is he in one right now. Del took himself on a journey learning about Dr. Wakefield and the CDC whistleblower and the suffering of millions of vaccine-injured parents worldwide. Del consequently left an incredibly successful career at the Doctors and committed himself to making sure the stories of vaccine-injured children are heard by those in power. Thank you, Del.
The film was contradicted or contradictory to their vaccination policies. Obviously, this is something that we've been used to having happen in America. This film has been censored from the very beginning, from the moment we were accepted at Tribeca Film Festival, arguably one of the most prestigious festivals in the world. So I'm really sorry to hear that Australia is going to follow suit and continue to try and censor, a discussion really is what this is, and it's scary, I think. When I imagine Australia, you consider yourself to be a free democratic nation, as do I here in America. So it's extremely disturbing that we're now in a place where we cannot have discussions like this. And what I've been saying lately is, here in America, if you even bring up this topic, vaccinations, then you're considered to be a lunatic. There's all these names thrown at you. I mean, obviously, Andy and Brian Hooker have been under mass assault for many, many years simply by questioning the science around vaccinations. And our media won't go anywhere near this story anymore if they can avoid it. And what I say is, if we cannot question science, then it's no longer science. It's become a religion. And if the science if they believe in the science, Why are they afraid of the movie? Why are they afraid of this discussion? Why doesn't their science hold up against ours? The truth is that the science is actually on our side. Andy put it to me very early on that when I was thinking about getting involved, he said to me, Del, it's not whether or not we're right, it's just when they're going to realize we're right. Are we going to be at 1 in 2 children of autism by the time they finally admit that this is happening, that history will shine down and show that we were on the right side of history, and specifically these two great men with speaking here today. I want to say that the film has been an amazing journey, and great people like Brian and Andy and Polly and me, and we've been out there working, but we're not the heroes. The heroes of this story really are those parents, and Brian being one of them actually, who have gone through some incredible tragedy in their lives, and watched a beautiful, healthy child lose many of the elements that they had, early on. And what I think makes them heroic is, besides dealing with one of the most difficult issues I think a family can ever go through, they have been going out of the way, like Brian, has spent over 10 years now, using FOIA documents, so Freedom of Information Act, and just diligently trying to get to the truth of this issue. And many parents like him have done all of the work that leads us to this discussion about the safety of vaccines. So while they were suffering at home, they were shouting from mountaintops and rooftops across the world, warning parents like me to look out, that vaccines are dangerous, that we should be questioning this science. And so those parents, every night here in America, every time we've done a screening, I want to recognize those parents that have been going through that and still finding the energy to try and warn the rest of us. So would love it if in Australia, if you're in this audience and you have a vaccinated family member, could you just please stand up for one moment? Now, if you're not standing right now, I just really want you to think about what this must be like. That moment where your perfectly healthy, beautiful child is laughing or smiling or running around the room, saying their first words, maybe, "I love you, Mommy," "I love you, Daddy." And then you go to the doctor and you do what you were told you were supposed to do. Your contribution to society, doing the right thing for your child, and you had that baby vaccinated. And for many, that was perhaps the last time they ever really heard their child speak. Could be the last time they ever heard, "I love you," or even the last time the child even walked. That's true for our cameraman that runs around with us on tour, Josh Coleman. But imagine you go through this incredible tragedy, and then you go back to your doctor, maybe a doctor that's been with your family for generations, and you say, "This vaccine has injured my child, something's wrong, what can I do?" And the first thing they do is try to tell you you're crazy, or that you don't know what you're talking about, that you're jumping to conclusions, or making a coincidence, into a reality. And if you continue to question that vaccine, here in America, they'll offer for you to speak with therapists, because maybe you're not handling this reality well. And if that doesn't shut you up, then you can expect what we call a visit from Child Protective Services, where now you find yourself fighting to hold on to this child who's just been injured by what I believe is one of the greatest lies of our time. I would imagine that the situation is similar to those people that just stood up in your audience. And the one thing that has been so powerful about Vaxxed is all over this nation, and you are proof that all over the world, our mission, when I first joined with Andy, and what we want Vaxxed to do, is to let the entire world know that you parents that have gone through this, you are not crazy. You are queer, you are amazing parents, And you've been telling the truth in this situation from the very beginning. So it's an honor to be here, and I thank you for all that you've done for all of us. And just let you know that Vaxxed is here to let the world know you really want to tell the truth all along. It's an honor to be here.
I'm immensely impressed that we managed to get this film played. It's smack in the eye for censorship. The censorship is that they are absolutely terrified of this film. Why? Because it's the truth. And as Jack Nicholson said, they can't handle the truth, and that really sums it up. I think that, yes, we have approached Congress, in particular Jason Chaffetz, the chairman of the Government's Oversight Committee, which was the committee that's responsible for the jurisdiction over the Centers for Disease Control. It was the committee that originally had the hearings under Chairman Dan Burke back in 2000, 2001 through 2004. And it is their duty, their responsibility, their duty to subpoena William Thompson, who wants to be subpoenaed for that committee, to tell the truth, and hopefully to subpoena all the other guilty parties as well. They have not done that so far. We're now 2.5 years almost down the line, and there's been no sort of concrete movement forward. They say they are investigating. It has been interrupted by the election here, but it needs to happen. It needs to happen soon. The reason it needs to happen from Chaffetz's point of view is that if it takes much longer, then he becomes an accessory to fraud. Because he knows it's taken place, it's quite evident, he's been presented with all the evidence, and it needs to happen. I'm hopeful that under the new administration, where we have an incoming president who actually believes that vaccines can cause autism, then we will get some movement on this, but that does not mean we can take our eye off the ball. We've got a lot of work to do to make sure it gets before the committee. And that's not the end of it. It needs to be a series of hearings, and it needs to be very, very public. So we're pressing very hard from our end. And I think once that happens and the truth emerges, then we are going to see some concrete changes. What will happen? We need some laws changed, and we can certainly discuss that. But most importantly, we need a repeal of the Vaccine Injury Compensation Act by Congress, which gives indemnity to the pharmaceutical industry. So for vaccines on the recommended schedule, there is no liability whatsoever either for the manufacturers or doctors for damage done. And we need to have vaccine safety completely removed from the CDC and Health and Human Services. Health and Human Services is the agency that oversees the CDC, and that needs to be taken out and put into a completely separate, independent agency, so that we can be given science, vaccine safety science, that we can begin to trust.
Yeah, I would say that, from my perspective, and I come in new to this, obviously Andy's been at this for a very long time, but the film has, I think, awakened a lot of politicians. There are more and more of them coming to theaters when we present in different towns. As Andy said, we've met with Jason Chaffetz. I met with Trey Gowdy, who's one of the lawyers on the Oversight Committee of Government Reform. But the question you always have is, it's clear when you speak to these people now, especially after they've seen the film, when you look into their eyes, these politicians, they know there's a problem. I don't know if that was the case all along. I think that one of the great things about the film is that it's opened up discussion so that more and more people are recognizing there's a problem. I think prior to Vaxxed, a lot of politicians just really sincerely believed that vaccines were safe and effective, as our health departments have said. So now we are getting through to where there's some clarity. When you speak with them, they understand there's a problem. Now, what are they going to do about it? what does it take to get a politician, to do their job? And what I say oftentimes to the audiences here is, I think 10 years ago, maybe, right around 10 years ago, prior to that, politicians would, at least if their moral instinct said I should do something, they might get visited by 5 or 10 parents that come and say, look, if my child's been injured, and things would happen. You even see this in the news 10 years ago. There were things that could happen. But we now live in a time in this country, I can't speak for your politics, but our politics are almost completely controlled by financial interests now. And even though you look into the eyes of a politician, you can tell in their heart they know what's right, they know there's an issue, there's children being injured, and they'll probably go home and make sure their grandchildren aren't vaccinated and things like that, but they won't do what's right for the public. And that's why this is an ongoing fight that we're all involved in here. And what I say is, we're in a place now where the public has to rise up. The public has to say, enough is enough. We will have to gain the power to, fire basically the politicians that will not look at this and will not do their job for us. So the only way that's going to happen is by spreading this truth. We have got to be brave, as you've got to play the video. You've got to show everyone you can vax. I think they're working on getting it so they can stream in Australia, and DVDs and all of that is very near future, so that you can share this film as a tool to start spreading the truth. Because I think, as most of you in this audience recognize, once you see this film, this discussion gets to be very, very difficult to walk away from. But we, the people, are the ones who are going to have to change this. We have got to continue to put pressure on our politicians, and we do that by changing our own minds and working towards having, a large democratic body that steps up and says, we want real science, we want it now. That's what we're doing in this country. That's what Andy's working very hard at, and Brian. On various levels of our politics, we're trying to make change, but it's hard. It's very hard. These people, this is, in America, the pharmaceutical industry is now the most powerful industry in Washington. It's outspending the lobbyists in Washington that are buying our politicians. The pharmaceutical lobbyists are outspending oil and gas by 2 to 1, which used to be the #1 lobby in this country. And so what I say to people is, what do you think those lobbyists are doing there? Do you think the pharmaceutical industry is there fighting for the safety and health of our children, fighting for our health? Lobbyists don't go to fight for other people's well-being. They fight for their own. They fight for their own bottom dollar. That's what they're there for. And we should be very, very nervous about an industry that has no liability on their products. At least that's true in America. I'm not sure what the situation is in Australia. But we can't sue them here. The safety testing is almost non-existent on vaccines in comparison with other pharmaceutical drugs, which is absolutely egregious. And then we have laws that are mandating and taking away any exemptions we have to make a personal choice or religious choice or whatever brings us to the choice on vaccines. So it's a perfect storm to destroy a generation, which is what we're doing. You have an industry that's not responsible because it can't be sued. You have politicians that are getting millions of dollars to force vaccination laws upon us. There's more and more vaccines coming in the pipeline. I think there's nearly 300 vaccines that have been approved out in the future that no one knows about. We are about to become human ATM machines for the pharmaceutical industry. If we do not spread the word and stop it as a people. Politicians are only one part of that. They're obviously a major part, but we're the ones that are making change.
There are about 10 of us in the room. People who funded the campaign. I went there with a friend of mine and 2 other colleagues who are advocates, parents of affected children. And people were mainly there to rub shoulders with him, so they weren't there representing an issue. So he came in, and photographs taken. He said he talked a little bit about the latest polls and disappearing emails, And then he said, okay, any questions? And the person who got us in the room got straight in there, as he did exactly the right thing, and said, we're here representing this issue. And he said, I know it happens. I've seen it amongst the children of my colleagues at work, people who work for me. Vaccines cause autism, we're giving too many too soon, and there's no question. And then it's people who have affected family members will know, just like Brian, when you see it, there's no unseen. There's nothing, there's no ambiguity about this in many cases. So he was very, very open. We had about 50 minutes talking about the issue. There was a woman in the room who had a child who had gone into kidney failure following a flu vaccine, one of his campaign people, and there was a huge interest. There's another guy on this campaign who had an 18-day-old baby, so it was right up there in his mind. And so the conversation for most part of 50 minutes centered around vaccines and autism, vaccine safety. So it was very, very productive. And it went better than I could ever imagine. I've been dealing with politicians for a very long time. This was the first time that I felt we really, really made headway. So I'm quietly optimistic for the future.
The next question will be what's the next project?
Vaxxed booster, yeah.
Yes, that's the booster. For my part, I know Andy might have some other thoughts because we're all different filmmakers doing different things. But for my part, as far as Vaxxed 2, what I say is we don't have time for Vaxxed 2, certainly not here in this nation. We are facing an onslaught of mandatory vaccines, not just for children, but for adults too. If you go to the Health and Human Services website here in America, they have something called Healthy People 2020. And what that lays out is a plan to be vaccinating all adults in America. And they want 100% compliance by the year 2020. There's really only one way you get to 100% compliance, as you well know, and that's by forcing vaccines upon the population. So given that the fight now is so immediate, that the pharmaceutical industry, and we have a law right now, we have what is it, 21st Century CARES Act is under discussion going on for the next 24 hours in this country, that's going to take away testing of drugs, and it's going to lower the standards of drug testing, electric shock therapy, of all, this is a massive land grab by the pharmaceutical industry. So we are under fire here, and I think for me and Polly and those of us that have been driving around on the bus tour, we feel that we have to win this now in America. I live in California that just passed SB 277, which is the law that took the rights away from parents to decide what was right to be injected into the child. So essentially, in California, the government can inject our children whatever they want, whenever they want, however they want. There's nothing we can say in the matter if we want our children to have education. My wife decided to take our children out of school under those circumstances. So we have a window, but then they'll be going out to homeschoolers. I mean, it just never stops. But what I would say is Vaxxed 2 is actually the work that we're doing now, and it's Polly on Periscope at Vaxxed. It's the Vaxxed.com website where we are currently editing all of the videos that we've been shooting over the last 6 months, and hopefully within about a month or so, there'll be approximately 1,000 new videos of vaccine injury stories. Polly and our team on the Vaxxed bus are going to continue to drive that bus all over the country. And hopefully we get a Vaxxed bus in Australia, and Italy, and Germany, and all over the world so that they can drive around and capture these stories. Because as Andy said, the truth is everything. You cannot stop the truth. And the truth is really upsetting the pharmaceutical industry. That we just picketed a meeting by Paul Offit and Senator Richard Pan in New York just a week ago. And the entire purpose of that meeting was how do we stop the anti-vaccine movement, or how do we communicate with them. And our cameraman went in to speak to Paul Offit, who's, I don't know if you know who he is, but he's one of the big vaccine proponents in this country, and he was having coffee, and Josh walked in and said, would you like to come out and have a debate? And he said, get out of here, get the F out of here. It was totally out of line. Apparently that's how he thinks you should do it, the anti-vaccine movement. But Vaxxed 2 is the lie that's ended. I don't think we have time to spend 3 years making a movie as powerful, and I don't think we can make another movie like Vaxxed. There's never going to be another Vaxxed because, as Andy and Brian know, for many, many years, we were looking for a whistleblower, somebody to verify what we knew was happening inside the Centers for Disease Control. Brian knew they were lying. Brian could tell from the way that they were dealing with him when he was trying to get those effects. I'll let you talk about that, Brian, but we only, whistleblower only comes around, once in a while with this kind of information. Andy and Brian were there to get this story. There's not another story like this. There's only now the truth of the families that are being interviewed. So Vaxxed 2 is happening. So if you want to watch it happening live, tune into Polly's Periscope. You can get the Periscope app if you don't have it, and follow Vaxxed. And you can see her doing live interviews every single day with, right now she's taking a couple days off for Christmas, but right after that you'll see her going live and interviewing more families. But maybe, Andy, you want to jump in?
Brian, what do you want next for you, Brian?
Yes, first of all, it's an honor to be in front of this international audience, and this has been quite a phenomenon. The whole Vaxxed movement has re-energized, the pro-safe vaccine movement in the United States and the vaccine hesitancy movement in the United States. There's been nothing like it. But for me personally, the investigation continues. Andy and I filed a formal complaint through the Office of Research Integrity in the Department of Health and Human Services back in October 2014. Unfortunately, what happened with that was it turned into an internal CDC investigation. 2 years later, now over 2 years later, it's still an internal CDC investigation, and they basically have a 20-year plan to nowhere. They're investigating themselves, and obviously, when the investigation results come out, they're going to say, oh, we're clean as a whistle. However, we're keeping up pressure on the Office of Research Integrity to make sure that investigation, regardless of what CDC says, that investigation needs to be elevated, and the results of the investigation need to be shown to Congress. And this is another avenue where we can get the CDC whistleblowers, and also with people like Dr. Paul Forson, who was one of the first researchers who covered up the link between vaccines and autism in the early 2000s. The investigation continues, and we're doing everything that we can possibly do to investigate the CDC, to influence the investigators to make sure that they're getting the right information. And, I'm still submitting FOIA requests at the rate of about 1 a month. I mean, that's the maximum number of FOIA requests that you can submit to a government agency at this time. And so that investigation is continuing, and it will continue, as long as I have breath.
One story that interests me enormously as a filmmaker is the whistleblower from the vaccine lab at Merck. This is a federal case. It's in court at the moment under the Whistleblower Act. You may or may not have heard of it. The newspapers have been very, very low to cover. I think it was briefly in the Wall Street Journal that Merck have been charged with fraudulently manipulating the data on the efficacy of their mumps vaccine. You may be aware that there are outbreaks of mumps in highly vaccinated populations all around the world. There's a huge outbreak at the moment in Arkansas. Everybody's been vaccinated on schedule, and the reason is that the vaccine doesn't work. Merck apparently knew that it didn't work, and they faked the data to show that it did work. And that is not just an issue of efficacy, the ability of the vaccine to protect, it's a safety issue because mumps is a trivial disease in children, but it's a serious disease, particularly in post-pubertal males, where it can cause testicular inflammation and sterility, and that has been reported, certainly testicular inflammation in the Arkansas outbreak. So a vaccine that doesn't work leaves you susceptible because the effects wear off after a few years. A vaccine that does not work is not efficacious. It's a dangerous vaccine as well. They knew this and they covered it up. So that's a story that interests me in particular, and one that I'm looking and dealing with. The great majority of my time is spent really making sure that we follow through on this and getting Thompson subpoenaed and testifying. So that's really where we're going with that.
Regarding the other CDC scientists, there was a movement. There were 12 scientists who, unfortunately, because of the culture of the CDC, had to do this anonymously. They co-authored a letter addressed to the CDC Chief of Staff, Carmen Villa. And these scientists claimed the same thing that Dr. Thompson claimed, that the higher-ups in the CDC are making them lie. And the policy is dictating and trumping science. You know, good science comes out, and the CDC policy comes against that good science. And so this whole spider phenomenon, the letter that came out, is just echoing the same thing that William Thompson is saying. And it's not, the mainstream media is, you know, like normal, is ignoring this type of stuff. But the alternative press, when they cover CDC Spider, which is the group of scientists that co-authored the letter, they're also covering the CDC whistleblower. So it's making quite a ripple and giving the CDC whistleblower new life.
Also, since the film came out, and this is something that I think the film has helped make happen. I think that, and we continue to say, if there are whistleblowers out there, please step forward. Now is the time. The movement, the energy in this country is on our side. As we've traveled with this bus, it is clear that the American people do not want mandated vaccines. They are questioning the safety of all these vaccines we're getting. So it's making our health department very, very nervous. Another whistleblower that came out was Judy Zimmerman, who is a CDC employee who had a database up in Utah, and she's come forward with some things that she's claiming CDC has done illegally, how they've used that database, and how they're counting the numbers around autism. So, you know, we're encouraging more and more whistleblowers to step forward while we have the attention and while we have momentum. And so I think it's encouraging. It's too bad that they've chosen to be anonymous. I think eventually, and I hope, I pray that even that they will not feel satisfied by that and will eventually put their names behind it. But they do exactly the culture that Thompson describes. And for everybody in this country, the media around the world that say that this whistleblower story has somehow been fabricated by Brian and Andy and me as a filmmaker, then why don't they want to have him subpoenaed? It seems to me if they really believe they were right, if they believe we somehow made this story up about Dr. William Thompson, that the best way to get to the bottom of it is to subpoena him. We're not worried about it. Why are they? I think that that's one of the major points I want to make. And if you think about it, I think this is something that I'm not a scientist like Andy and Brian are, but something that's been on my mind is, you know, they always say, well, where are your studies that show that vaccines aren't safe? They're done all the time. There's studies all over the world that get done. For instance, France did a study that they showed that the hepatitis B vaccine causes multiple sclerosis. That's just one example, but they go on and on. But as Brian says in the film, the CDC only studies or only does studies when there's an issue drawn up against one of the vaccines. They don't proactively go, let's just see if we're causing cancer. Let's just see if we're causing asthma. Let's just see if the vaccines are causing multiple sclerosis, which is what I think people assume they're doing. What we thought they'd be doing is constantly testing for safety They only do one type of test. That's a defensive test against other studies that have shown that there's an issue. And what I think is astounding about it is in the United States, our entire health department has a 100% effective rate of proving that every other scientist in the world that does any other kind of science is lying. They debunk every single study. I mean, I don't know what the stats are on that, Brian, but that seems scientifically implausible that 100% of the time, every other scientist has done their science wrong. It's not possible. So we clearly have a science mindset and industry in this country that are setting about to do studies the one way you should never do a study. A study is supposed to be totally objective. Let's see what the numbers do, let's see where they fall, let the chips fall where they may. That's science, and it's clear that the science around vaccines sets out with a goal to disprove the previous study that's been done. In fact, Paul Offit, in that speech he gave last week, alluded to the fact that early on, we didn't jump on these other studies fast enough. But now, as soon as the study comes out, we know better, we jump right on it, and we do our own science, and we take away the fear. That doesn't sound like science to me. That's when science is setting out to prove that it's right, versus see what the truth actually is, you have a problem. And that is where we're at in science. Science can never be accurate or clear if it has an agenda. And that's the problem with vaccine scientists and science. It has an agenda. And an agenda is effective 100% of the time, which is really mathematically impossible.
There was just a study that came out in a journal called JAMA Pediatrics just last week, and it claimed that there was no relationship between autism spectrum disorder and maternal flu shot. This is the flu shot that is given in the United States for pregnant women during any trimester of pregnancy. And when you look behind the study and you read the fine print and go beyond the talking points, actually they show a strong statistically significant relationship between those women who got the flu shot in their first trimester of pregnancy and autism spectrum disorder. But again, they diluted down the effect. It was something that they used an improper, they said, oh, there's an effect there, but when we use the proper correction factor, then the effect goes away. It was very transparent what they were trying to do, but the fact is, they weren't supposed to use that particular correction factor. It's statistically false what they did. It's statistically completely wrong, and yet they did it anyway. It's straight away, the paper came out, I requested the data set from the primary author. And by the way, the primary author and all of the co-authors were from an insurance company called Kaiser Permanente, and so they had built-in conflict of interest. And strangely enough, I haven't received any type of response yet for getting these data, but fortunately there's enough information in the paper that will be reanalyzed. But it's just another case of what Dell is saying. It's a very, very transparent effort in order to, when some issue comes up, when Andy's paper came out in the Lancet, then the CDC went after the MMR vaccine, not to show the science, but basically to prove at all costs that the MMR vaccine was safe and it wasn't causing autism. And as you know the backstory, the rest of the story is that they absolutely lied. They couldn't get the effect to go away, so they basically committed fraud upon fraud until they came out with this paper in 2004.
And one of the things I want to say is that, for me, Vaxxed sets out to prove that fraud took place at the Centers for Disease Control. And that's what the story really is. People argue what's causing autism. Is it the mercury in vaccines, or is it the MMR, or is it a combination of these things? The truth is we have so little information. In fact, the IOM, the Institute of Medicine, which is sort of the governing body of scientists that basically make our policy or suggest our policy to Congress, they've said over and over, they've complained, and they've been asked to do the studies, to see are there links to all of these injuries parents are claiming to the vaccines. And every single time they've done that study, I think, what, 3 times now over the last decade or so, Brian, and every time they come out and say, we have a major problem. There are not enough studies being done so that we can't determine yes or no, whether it's true or not that the vaccines are causing these injuries. In fact, the IOM officially, in terms of the DTaP vaccine, have said that they can't prove that the DTaP is not causing autism. Even though the CDC makes the statement that vaccines do not cause autism, they actually officially can't make that statement because of what the IOM has said, which is there is not enough safety testing or studies been done for us to say that it's not causing autism. So when you talk about Brian's study, you know, they see in the first trimester that the flu shot does lead to an incidence of autism spectrum disorder. And think about that. This study is setting out to prove that this is safe, and it can't get around. Obviously, the problem's big enough that they have to mention it in the paper, but then they say, well, then we run it through a bunch of numbers and filters, and we're able to sort of make it less statistically significant. But then they cover their butt because they know deep down they're lying. So at the end it says, but we recommend more studies be done. Basically saying what we're saying now is flu shots for pregnant women is perfectly safe, but we did see this thing and maybe you should look at other doing more studies. Will those studies be done? Probably not. But here's what's terrifying about it. Even the paper suggested we should be doing other studies if we feel like it, because we did see this thing in the first trimester, which could possibly be problematic. But we err in the side of caution on the side of the flu vaccine, not on the safety of these children. You would think if you saw any uptick at all, which this study did, you would say, whoa, hold on a second. This is exactly the thing that every scientist that writes a paper is talking about. We saw exactly where scientists were worried would happen. The younger the age, the younger the first trimester, not the second or third, but the first trimester, we saw an issue. And what we did was we washed over that issue and we erred on the side of caution to the vaccine maker and not to the babies that are at risk. And so, yes, there may be a problem, maybe you want to do more studies, but we're going to continue to vaccinate pregnant moms because we don't care. That's what's happening with this science. So even when they see that, they're trying to avoid, they still just continue business as usual, making sure that the pharmaceutical industry makes billions of dollars and children are destroyed. And you've got to think about the numbers. I mean, for me, here's the issue. I don't care anymore about the studies. I really don't. People, you know, as a journalist, I've now met with colleagues driving around the bus, you know, every day, you know, we do Q&As after films. I meet another 50 or another 100 parents of vaccine-injured children. That is what proves to me that vaccines are causing autism, because I am a reporter. I interview people for a living. Illness. 1 in 4 children is leaving elementary school on a drug they're going to be on the rest of their life. You know, unbelievable rates of childhood cancer. Children are dying of cancer. It's now the second leading cause of cancer around the 9 or 10-year-old age. Why is that? And then you look at the vaccines themselves, and it says right on the label, every one of them hasn't been tested for carcinogenesis. How can you not be testing for cancer when it's become the second leading cause of death amongst children? I mean, this is criminal what's taking place. And the stats are terrible. In America, we have more babies dying on the first day of life than every other industrialized nation combined. And then you look at the fact that we're getting a hepatitis B on the first day of life. All of this stuff, I believe, is going to end up making everyone that was involved in this science, they will go down in history just like Nazis did. They are a part of destroying a generation. The science is on our side, and the people are speaking, and you need to speak. Please, everyone in Australia, I know it must be scary there, but I understand that Tasha afterwards is going to be doing interviews, so please do that interview. And Tasha, send them to us so that we can put a place on our website, Vaxxed.com, for Australia to show your stories to show that this is happening around the world. I understand you have a banner there that everyone can sign, that we're signing with us, so I hope that you do it. But Yeah, this is not science taking place, and that is what this movement is about. I'm not anti-vaccine, I am pro-science. If vaccines are safe, then why do you not have any liability? If vaccines are safe, then why aren't you subpoenaing Dr. William Thompson? If vaccines are safe, why aren't you doing carcinogenesis studies? All the studies, MS, asthma, all of these childhood diseases that are increasing at astronomical levels, directly in line with the vaccine. So that's where I'm at. Bring the science. We need real safety testing by independent bodies, that are firewalled against the pharmaceutical industry, not people that are in revolving doors where they do the science for the government and then go and take a multi-million-dollar job like Julie Gerberding did, who's the head of the CDC, is now the head of vaccines at Merck, the very company she was supposed to be investigating. That has got to stop, or we are going to destroy a generation, probably the future of this world.
We do need to wrap up. I would like to turn it over to Brett, Dean, and Greg that will be around to answer some questions that are specific to Australia. And also, if I could entreat you to, like Dale said, sign the Vax banner for vaccine injury. And Boston will be there at the Vax banner live streaming your stories. So, and thank you so much for spreading the word in Australia. Given the issues with speech in Australia, you are our heroes, and thank you so much for spreading the word.
Thank you, guys.